What's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we're going to be previewing Port Adelaide's round 11 clash against the Saints in what is a massive game of footy in Shanghai. The first trip St Kilda will be travelling up for against Port in what is the third instalment of the China series. It's going to be a big game for both teams. Both teams also 5 and 5, sitting 10th and 11th on the ladder. So it's going to be a big one this week, so I'm really much looking forward to it. So let's preview the game and see how it looks like it's going to pan out.
He does pull it late to the pocket. Dixon's down there, almost. Paddy tucked into the pocket. Oh, awesome. That is awesome.
Both teams have been pretty disappointing over the last month or so. St Kilda have won one of their last 5 games, and that one was against Carlton in a very scrappy affair. They basically just got across the line, whereas Port Adelaide were pretty disappointing against the Hawks last week, losing by 31 points. They were never really in the game. They were never really out of the game. They were just there, Port Adelaide. And St Kilda, well, they were a little bit smarter against Carlton. Carlton were a lot more fearful. They were a lot more powerful going forward, but they just didn't create any opportunities. They just bombed away. And it's a bit like Port Adelaide, really, the way they played. But Port Adelaide are going to have to be on their game and a lot betterly structured this week, especially if they're going to be any chance of beating the Saints' defence, which has been pretty strong over the last month, even though they continue to lose some games. And with their first time travelling to Shanghai, St Kilda, it's going to be an interesting one for them because it's a new experience, especially in the middle of the season. They're travelling overseas. They're going to have to get used to the conditions. It's going to be a little bit warmer. They're also going to have to deal with, weather-wise. Is it going to be hot? Is it going to be, dewy, similar to Darwin perhaps? Or is it going to be raining? We're not quite sure exactly the weather at this stage, but it's going to be an interesting one for them personally because they're experiencing something they haven't before. And this is where Port Adelaide's advantage comes into fruition. They've played their 3. They'll be travelling there for the 3rd time now. They know the drill. They know what it's like, the conditions, and how to deal with the travel, of jet lag and stuff like that. So it's definitely a lot more simpler task for Port Adelaide, but nonetheless, you still got to bring a game of footy that will last for 4 quarters. And can both teams do that? Who knows? But I'd put the ball in Port Adelaide's court at the moment. Just some interesting, game notes for this game is the fact that obviously first time that both these teams are meeting in Shanghai. And also the 3rd time Port Adelaide is travelling. They haven't lost a game either in Shanghai, Port Adelaide. They're averaging 92 points a game, whereas the teams that they've played, obviously Gold Coast twice, they're averaging 40 points against, which is a massive differential, which means Port Adelaide, even at Gold Coast, are not the greatest opposition to compare a stat like that to. They're pretty dominating when they head to China. So for Port Adelaide, this is very much in their favour. They're going to be favourites heading into this one. This is a massive game for the club. This is not just on-field performances, it's off-field. They're there to showcase the game of footy that is AFL. This is a big opportunity for both teams to invest and get the best possible outcome of creating a financial growth and also putting on a display for the AFL to showcase our great game. And I think this is something that Port Adelaide are a lot more invested in than even in the AFL. St Kilda have jumped on board this year. But I think the main thing with this is Port Adelaide want to be successful in Shanghai. You can't go ahead and lose this game. This is simply the unlosable for Port Adelaide. If they end up losing this is embarrassment. This is everything against what we've tried to bring to Shanghai, what we've tried to showcase to the people in China and also to the AFL. And if you end up dropping a game like this against St Kilda, who, in no offence whatsoever, they're just not a quality side, you've got to be beating those teams in these circumstances. And heading into the bye, it's a massive difference between being 6 and 5 than it is 5 and 6. Saying that though, the 2 times that we have played in Shanghai, Travis Boak has been best on ground in both occasions. He's averaging 29.5 disposals per game and averaging roughly 130 fantasy points for the 2 games as well, which is, after a stellar season that he's had so far, to top that off to play a best on ground performance in Shanghai would be a fantastic first half of the season for Boakey. And he just plays so well against the opposition over there. Mind you, they've both been Gold Coast. And he probably got 3 votes against the Suns a couple of weeks ago. But him playing, he gets used to those conditions. He's trained in those types of conditions as well. He gets the body used to it. So he'll be very much up for the challenge. And him against Jack Steele is going to be a very interesting matchup. Both being fantastic, Nick, of late, especially Steele, who's had a best on ground performance against Carlton last week, and he's going to be really looking to not only shut down Boak's influence, but also have a bit of his own. And with Jake Gresham in the middle as well, creating opportunities for the Saints forward half with Membry and Bruce down there. The St Kilda's mix of players is actually quite impressive. They do move the ball pretty well. They just don't quite hit the scoreboard enough, and I think that's got something with the lack of their midfield pressure. They don't have that star in there at the moment. No Jack Stephen. Down back, a little bit man. I've lost a bit of manpower with Jaron Geary, who's a chance to come back this week. So it'll be interesting to see what St Kilda do there. But the defence has held up pretty well. It's been solid. I think they just are missing a couple of key personnel to really take that next step forward. But I wouldn't write them off this week, no doubt about that, especially with Port Adelaide's form. They're not going to be looking to be easy beats for sure. Especially showcasing in Shanghai. They're not going to be coming over and thinking, oh, we're just another team to play and this is Port Adelaide's time. They're going to try and spoil the party. And I wouldn't put it past them as well, especially, how us Port fans are feeling at the moment with Port Adelaide and how we're travelling. St Kilda will be out for it, no doubt about that. Just looking at who travels for this week, for Port Adelaide's perspective, St Kilda obviously take the 22 they had play last week and they'll have the 4 emergencies, so that's the deal. 26-man squad will travel over for the Sunday game. And obviously 22 player, you've got to have the 4 emergencies over because you can't fly someone up there last minute. So for Port Adelaide, we'll probably take Lysette, we'll take Burton, we're taking Hamish Hartlett as well, who's an opportunity to play his first AFL game in, I think it's 13, 14 months. Doubt he'll play. I don't think he'll play because I don't know who's going to come out for him. The defence was pretty solid last week. DBJ and Broadbent, Houston as well were all solid. But I think he's just there as a bit of experience and bit of insurance he's there for. So, as well as I think Charlie Dixon's travelling up there, but he won't play either. He's just there travelling with the squad to experience what is a great perspective in Shanghai. The 4th player we'll probably take up is Garner, who was the emergency last week in Tasmania, which means Tom Rockcliffe, after doing some scans on Monday, he looks likely that he will... he's obviously going to travel up. He has travelled up because the time I'm going to be sharing this, they would have already been there. So he would have travelled up. So that means there's insurance there for whoever comes out. Burton's there. I think if you look at selection-wise, might as well go into it now. Selection-wise, Motlop and Laddams have to go out. Motlop's been in poor form, hasn't showcased anything. Laddams is going out for Lysette, purely for the ruck business there. So that's just a straight swap. Laddams was serviceable last week, but I don't think he keeps his spot with Lysette raring to go. And Burton, I think, if he passes his fitness test, which it looks like he has, he'll play. So I think he replaces Motlop. For just the 2 changes, you can't keep making continual changes and continually try and find the right ingredients because eventually the cake's going to get burnt. And at the moment, it's looking like the cake's well done. Prediction-wise, I'm going to tip Port by 15 points. I can't see us losing this one. Well, I can, but I don't think we will. We're pretty good in Shanghai, and I think the Chinese are going to really enjoy what this game's going to bring because I reckon it'll be a lot more exciting than the last 2 have been. A better crowd, a lot more entertainment, and it's a dream to go over. And so if you're going over as a Port fan or any fan in general, enjoy the experience because it's going to be one hell of a weekend this Sunday at 1:50 p.m. SA time. Thanks for watching, Port fans. This preview of Round 11, Port Adelaide versus St Kilda this Sunday. It's going to be a big game in Shanghai, a lot to play for in more ways than one on and off the field for both clubs. So it's going to be really enjoyable. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new for plenty more Port Adelaide content coming your way every round, every week of the season and more during the pre-season as well. So make sure you jump on board and make sure you jump on board the Facebook page and Instagram page, ThePear and Port Pair. So give them a follow for a little bit of extra Port Adelaide content as well. Thanks for watching, Port fans. My name is Anthony, and as always, go on the Pear.